Here we go. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the section leader support call. We do have a lot going on today's call. So here's the agenda. And I think I know everyone, but I always introduce myself because I don't want to be rude, but I'm Rosa Maimi, Director of Engagement and Membership, and oversee a few things with AGU, including the section leader support role. So glad to see everyone join here. And as you heard, we're being recorded, and we do send this out to all the section leaders, the recording and any accompanying materials, usually the day or even sooner after the meeting has taken place. So let's go through the agenda. We're going to talk about, oh, there's a different order than I remember. So section Spotlight Caregiver Awards, we'll talk about. I may flip this a bit, and because I think I promised this slot to Suzanne. So AGU 23 update is going to go first. And then section Spotlight, we'll have a couple of sections talking about caregiver awards. We'll talk about supporting section mentoring programs and open mic. Let's keep going to the next slide. All right, so I already introduced myself, but let me introduce my colleague and boss, Amber Levy, VP of Affiliation, Engagement, and Membership, and she's going to give us a brief update on some things we're doing on the membership side and AGU 23. Amber.
Thanks, Rosa. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for joining today. And again, I always say thank you for all of the amazing work that you're doing. And we really value our partnership with this group. And I will keep my comments brief because, as you saw, we have a jam-packed agenda. But just very quickly, we made a promise to you to continually update you on the progress we're making with all of our membership work. And so some of you might have already gotten wind of this, but we want to make sure that we're sharing this for awareness and to make sure that you feel equipped to answer any questions that you might be hearing from members. We have wrapped up several phases of research, and we are now moving into taking action. And one of the things that we're doing is running a membership experiment, a membership pilot. That has already kicked off, and there'll be some. We're basically targeting first-time attendees for AGU 23 who are early career and students. And someone from our team is going to drop a link into the chat. It's to a landing page that explains what this pilot is all about, what it will achieve for those who participate. And some, you may have heard through the grapevine, communications have already gone out on this with our target audience. So we wanted to make sure that we shared this with you so that you had access to it. And hopefully you'll get questions. We actually hope you will get questions. That means people are talking and paying attention to it. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about what it is because unfortunately we just don't have time. We've got a jam-packed schedule, but take a look at it and feel free to share this with any of your early career or student members within your sections. And please reach out to us if you have any questions. We're happy to answer them, but we're looking forward to sharing back the results on this experiment in Q1 of 2024. So that's it. Rosa, back to you.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks for that highlight. And I did drop the intake form with a little bit of explanation of what this pilot is. It's in the chat. So again, as Amber mentioned, let us know if you've got questions. So Josh, I'm going to ask if we can kind of skip to the original agenda order, which was AGU 23 update was going to go first. So if we could go to Suzanne, and I think Samantha Sam may be on, and she's also going to give us an update. So yep, there we are. So Suzanne, I'll send it over to you.
Great, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Davison, Director of Meetings. And we're going to just give you a kind of an overview of update on registration as well as the learning program. So Josh, you want to go to the next slide? So of course we are 49 days out. I just wanted to kind of give you guys, it's kind of going by very quickly, but we're almost there to the meeting. Next slide. And just a few milestones. Everybody has received their acceptance letters. The program is live. We have been adding more things to the program. So, you please remind people to always go back and, look at the live program. And then coming up, we have our early bird deadline. This is a critical deadline. The registration rates are at the low rate. And so after November 2nd, they will increase. And we want to get people to register at the early bird deadline to take advantage of the low rates, as well as housing. Housing is coming up very quickly, and it's selling out as well. Should you have any problems or challenges, please reach out to me. I can work with Merits to try to, find the best housing situation for you. Next slide. And just to kind of give you an update of where we are with our numbers, it's increasing every day. We're constantly looking at our reports, but we're kind of staying static at 96% in person, 4% virtual. We are seeing a high volume from Korea, China, Canada, Japan, India, and then US is also the highest attendance. And this just kind of gives you a breakdown too. So, you can go through it when Rosa and them send slides, but again, it changes every day. So we're always looking at just see where we stand. Another thing, just to give you kind of an overview, is the registration areas. I think many of you have been to San Francisco, are familiar with Moscone West. That is where we're going to host our main registration area. And that will consist of scan and go, on-site registration, the honors tribute booth, the donors fast lane, meeting services. We'll have an accessibility desk in that area. And, it's going to be fully stocked. Like, there will be all kinds of, the speaker ready room will also be in that area. So if you're a first time registrant, you will go to Moscone West. The other areas that we're hosting are satellite registration areas. We're going to try something new this year in San Francisco. In Moscone North Lobby, we're just going to have the press and exhibitor registration, as well as an accessibility desk. And then on the other side, where Moscone South is, we're going to have the scan and go Sunday and Monday, because those are our heaviest days for registration. And Sunday and Monday, that will be fully dedicated for registration. And then they'll flip into engagement areas after Tuesday. And then one thing we are trying new this year is the Marriott Marquis, the Hilton Union Square, and Park 55. You'll see kiosks where you can go and scan for your badge. If you're staying at Marriott Marquis or near one of these hotels, you can always go to those locations and print your badge. And you'll also get a lanyard at that location as well. So that's a pilot we're trying to see, if it's successful. We'll continue it for next year. Next slide. And just wanted to give you kind of an overview of the registration hours. We will open on Sunday at noon. We will have anybody who's attending early workshops will be able to go to Moscone West at 8 o'clock to pick up their badge. But that is just for workshop attendees. But the official opening will be at noon on Sunday. And then you can kind of give an overview of, we'll be open till 6 p.m. Every night. So if there's any questions, you can always visit the registration areas. And then I also wanted to note the exhibit hall hours. We are Monday through Thursday this year. The exhibit hall will open up Monday afternoon, and then Thursday they will close at 1 p.m. And this is just a reminder, I think you've seen this slide. If you're looking for meeting space, we have several options. We have the ancillary meeting room request that there is a fee for. That space is filling up very quickly. We're getting a lot of interest in meeting space for either the day or an evening event. And we're working with our Merits company to partner and assign space at either at the Marriott or the Intercontinental Hotel. And again, there are meeting rooms located in North Lobby. Those are first come, first serve signups. And then we, I believe we have gone live with the pod engagement areas, which those, will be available for attendees as well to sign up. And then next slide. And this is just an overview, a couple of new engagement areas. As I mentioned, we're going to have the poster hall where they'll have parks, where they'll have tables, and we have the nooks also in the parks. And then we'll have a quiet space in the poster hall. And then what I just mentioned too are the South Satellite registration tables will be flipped to create more engagement areas. And then I think we're going to go into Samantha. Is she online?
I don't see her here, but I do see Eric. So I'm wondering, Eric, if you might be jumping in on this.
Yep. Yeah, we have a budget meeting that was running long, but I'm hopping over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
So like in previous years, but also structured a little differently. We're going to have a number of learning workshops offered throughout the week, both in person and virtually, starting on Sunday, but also being held during the week as well. There is an additional cost for these, and they are tiered based upon participation type, whether virtual or in person, as well as registration type. So, student versus non-student. And they are all up and online on Convex and in the registration portal. If you want to go to the next. And I'll just add on the learning workshop side, the majority of these are being offered by the AGU community. They are not AGU staff led. Conversely, with the Career Center, we will be having a number of career-oriented talks at a theater adjacent to the Career Center in the AGU Central space in the exhibit hall. Throughout the week, they're about half staff led, half non-staff led, encompassing a number of different topics that matter to our, primarily our student and early career scientist community, but also beyond that, of career pathways that are available to those in the earth and space sciences, publications advice, specific career pathways with regards to science policy and science communications, as well as just kind of how to understand, find your fit. You don't know where you want to go. Where would you like to go? Talks of that nature. They'll be happening both in person as at the Career Center, at the theater during the week, but then also in the virtual portion of the meeting as well. Additionally, at the Career Center space, we're going to have a staff booth where experts will be on hand to help answer questions around different topics like mentoring, career opportunities, how to utilize the AGU job board, things of that nature, publications, as well as some computer setup for surfing the AGU job board and posting jobs or applying to jobs, and accessing Mentoring 365 Live, which will be the on-site mentoring service available. And I'll pass it back to you, Suzanne. That's it from the Career Center side.
Yeah, I think, Eric, there was a question in there about the OSPA process. I don't know if you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I joined too late, I think, to see the question, but I think Ricky had sent it to me over email. We will be presenting to section leadership on OSPA in November and update you accordingly in the section community as we get closer and closer to fall meeting. I will say that in terms of this year's build and the revamp, we are on track for launching as anticipated with iPoster as this year's OSPA portal. Students should be entering the system, or we'll receive their email and directions to enter the OSPA system on November 7th, shortly followed by coordinators, liaisons, and then finally judges, or actually what we're calling reviewers. We want to take this idea of judging away and more the feedback side. So reviewers, December 1st. But we are on track right now. Things have been working really well with iPoster. And the OSPA committee is going to be working with AGU staff to start testing live data soon too. But we just closed the application, or the opt-in sign up for OSPA on the 18th. So now we've got data. We know which students want to participate in OSPA. Now we're really chugging along. So the train has left the station as it pertains to our OSPA launches here. We are kicking into high gear.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Mhm.
So why don't we go to our next topic? So we're going to talk about caregiver awards. We have a couple of sections, and just as a reminder, you've heard me say this every meeting, but we want to make space in each of these section leader calls to have sections talk about what they're doing, share their learnings with others, and get questions from each other. So this time around, and again, this is based on your input in terms of what you want to hear. So caregiver awards, I think a few months back was something that came up, that some of the sections, and I think in fact even Eric had flagged as something to kind of talk about. So here we are. We're going to start with geosciences, and Stephanie, are you on?
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Hi, thanks.
Could we start on the first one? I just wanted to introduce myself. I don't know if it made it in there. It was basically just the title of my name, so I'll start here. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Pennington. I'm the Biogeosciences Early Career Chair. I've been the chair for this year and the past year, so we kind of think of it in calendar years leading up to the fall meeting. And then I've been on the committee for 3 years. I'm going to talk about our Caregiver Award and a little bit of the history behind it and kind of the changes we've made along the way. And I'm very excited to talk to you guys about it and hear that there's another Caregiver Award as well. All right, so the purpose of the grants, this is for people who are the primary caregiver of a dependent, have financial need, and who need support in that area to be able to attend the fall meeting. So an overview, these started in 2018. They are $500 US dollars per grant. Over the years, the application and the funding source has changed, which I'll go over a little bit later. And then we advertise this a bunch of different ways on Twitter, X, AGU Connect, and through email, so networking. So over the years, the number of grants we give ranges based on how much funding we have that year and what else we're doing during the year. So like sometimes the budget can fluctuate that way. So usually ranges from 5 to 8. I'm not sure if we gave one out in 2020. That was right before I joined, and I didn't see any information on that for that time. But I did see a note that in 2020, we were able to use early career funds for these caregiver grants, which I think gave us a little bit more flexibility section-wide in terms of where we're using our money. And then I wanted to spotlight one of our awardees last year. So this is Roberta on the top left with her daughter, and then her husband and their other daughter as well. So she was awarded last year, and they were able to attend AGU, and they both had to present on the same day. So they brought their kids to the poster presentation. So a little bit about eligibility and the application process. I put the criteria on the bottom left. So you have to be a current AGU member. You have to submit an abstract to make sure that we know you're planning to come to the fall meeting when you apply. Have caregiving responsibilities that make attending the fall meeting burdensome financially or time. And we'd like to see involvement in the fall meeting program. We'd love to see that they plan to engage and network. And then there's a preference to early career members, but we don't currently have a hard stop at early career in terms of who gets awarded. On the right-hand side, this is an example of our flyer from this year that we advertised and emailed out. And then the website, so we put the information on the AGU Connect website for our section. And then our application is a Google form. I wasn't sure if we could click on the link. I could go back to it later, but yeah, if it's possible, I should have unlocked the responses so that we can just quickly see. So in the past, when we first started this, the first couple of years, we had kind of like longer answer applications, and you had to submit a CV. And I think last year and this year, we changed to a Google form and make it a little bit short. shorter. We wanted it to be a little bit more need-based and less kind of like education-based. And so just like, we want to know that you could benefit from this money and you are excited about attending the fall meeting. Those were kind of our top priorities. And if we can't go to it, let me just put it in the chat and everybody can look. It's okay if it's too much. I don't know who's driving right now, but here's the form. Okay, thanks, Josh. So name here, yeah, so that is all kind of what I covered in the slides. Name, email, affiliation, so that's like your section affiliation. Whether you're attending virtual in person, these are open to both. Specifics on the abstract, just to make sure we have a document that you definitely did submit an abstract. What's exciting to you about the work you're presenting, networking or any type of events you want to attend. And then the final question is like the caregiving related challenges and how this grant would help get the most out of the meeting for you. Thank you. Okay. Yes. And then some improvements we've made over the years and then some challenges that come up. So we've changed the name from an award to a grant actually to make it sound more like a travel grant because that's how we envisioned it being used for. So we envisioned it being used to help travel to and attend the fall meeting. I mentioned before we switched to a simpler question-based application. This application made it easier to review. So it allowed us to all be in one meeting going through these answers. Whereas in the past, I think we did it more individually and wrote up like longer kind of reports. This year, we also set a timeline early on and thought through making sure that awardees would be notified before early registration ended. So they can properly prepare to attend the fall meeting with or without their dependent. And then this year, we also have gathered additional caregiving resources. Most of these, here, I'll put it in the chat. There you go. Most of these are ones that are offered by AGU, but just kind of consolidating in one place. It's particularly for those who applied and didn't get the grant this year as well. And then some challenges with this grant. I think we still need to create a rubric for making sure we're equitably scoring everybody. This year we had a lot of issues with bots because we put it on Twitter and I got 20,000 responses when 12 of them were real AGU attendees. Luckily, the bots didn't put something in every category, especially the AGU abstract one, so it's very easy to filter. Section affiliations, I don't know if we have a strict rule on this that you have to be a biogeosciences section. I think we want you to be affiliated. I'm not sure whether it has to be primary or not, but I think solidifying that, and I'm also curious to hear from the other awards what they do as well. And then advertising, this is always one of our biggest hurdles. Just getting it out to a wider group of people that are outside of our own networks. So a lot of times we only reach the people that we already know. And so, yeah, just kind of like broadening that as well. And yeah, that's it. So I don't know when we'll do questions, but thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Why don't we hear about the next, and then we can do kind of some questions around caregiver awards. And we've got Jeff Rees with us. So Jeff, you want to talk about caregiver awards from your perspective?
Yep, sure thing. Next
Thanks.
slide. Yeah, so we actually have two programs. One is the caregiver grants, and the other we do registration waivers, and we do these very much in the same way for some of the same purposes. So I'm going to talk about those together. And really the registration waivers started in 2020 when we were scrambling to figure out how can we provide better services in lieu of this completely virtual environment. And one of the things that we realized, though, is because the meeting was all virtual, this would give people, particularly people outside of the country that can't afford to fly to the fall meeting, an opportunity to participate on an equal footing with people that had more resources. And actually, as we were developing this and talking about it in these section support meetings, AGU as a whole decided to adopt that across the board, but just for low and lower middle income scientists. So I'm sure you've seen that in the registration since then. We don't have that particular restriction. Next. And some of the same, even scientists that are planning on participating in person were faced with challenges because of dependent care, but also people that are attending virtually. So our caregiver grants have been in the meetings where virtual and in-person attendance was more even. Also, our grants were more even. We found that people, particularly two career scientists that had children at home or parents at home or someone else that needed attention during the day. We had one person had their mother-in-law fly in to take care of someone with special needs, that sort of thing. And also, since COVID, there was an on-site sort of childcare program that existed at the fall meeting for a long time. That kind of went away because of the risk of infection. So there was more demand on the caregiver grants. And yeah, next. So for both of these, we really wanted the waivers and grants to further our DEI goals. And first and foremost, if you can't participate in the fall meeting, then you're not participating, and we want to be as inclusive as possible and try and reduce that financial barrier. And of course, as you have more inclusion, it sort of brings along more diversity and fairness just as additional benefits. So we prioritize first-time attendees, students and early career scientists, people that attend or teach at minority-serving institutions, and anyone else that considers themselves to be a member of a community that is underrepresented in space physics and astronomy. And this is a self-identified thing. If you feel like you're a member of an underrepresented community, then that's good enough for us. Next. So the registration waivers, they pay for registration, so the cost varies. And it was cheaper for virtual. Now I guess virtual and in person are basically the same price. What is it, about $700 this year? That can really be an insurmountable hurdle for some scientists. In contrast, the caregiver grants, AGU specifies that, as Stephanie said, that's a fixed number of $500. We fund both programs out of discretionary section funds. Next. Yeah, so what does it cost? So these are numbers that I pulled together from 2021. We had 15 registration waivers in that year, and it was about $7,500. And I say waiver or reimbursement because if you've sent in your list of people that get registration waivers, that has to happen, in like June or something. And we sometimes don't have a complete list So we sometimes have to do it as a reimbursement after the fall meeting, which is more complicated both for us and for AGU and for the people receiving the money. You have to do some tax forms and this sort of thing, particularly for people outside the US. This was more difficult. So if you want to adopt a program like this, do the waiver if possible. We had 9 caregiver grants in that year, so that's $4,500. And so how do we pay for this? Well, so we've been trying to let our section members know what we are doing for the membership, what we're trying to do to advance some of these goals. So we have gotten an increase in contributions from members to our section funds. Not enough. It's never enough. We also asked our corporate sponsors. We have 2 corporate sponsors, Ball and Lockheed Martin. They each give us $2,500 a year that used to go to pay for the section gathering. And we asked them if we could use it for these 2 programs instead, and they absolutely loved it. They also didn't increase their contributions, but we're working on that as well. So we've got these 2 sources that we kind of direct, but still the programs cost more money each year. So they're a net loss, but I say only in revenue. They're really a net gain for the section, but it is a net loss of revenue. Next. So we also do Google Forms. We've given these forms to a number of sections. I don't know if Biogeosciences got a template from us, but I know Atmospheric Sciences did, and Planetary, a few others. We have some required questions, and both forms are very similar. The required, so you have to say that you need monetary support that will allow you to more completely participate in the fall AGU meeting. It's an honor system. We don't ask for any proof of that. We ask if people are primarily a Space Physics and Astronomy member. In 2021, everyone was. In some of the other years, they weren't. We don't make it a requirement, but we like to know if that's true. What's the role at AGU? Presenters, session chair, OSPA judges. And just a little bit about, in your own words, how will this support help you more fully engage? And it's great reading these responses. And particularly, like I say, our corporate sponsors, you pull a few of those out and it humanizes it for people. We have optional questions. You can tell us what career stage you're at. One of the reasons for asking for this is, as you know, we get, $5,000 to support student activities. If the student mixer doesn't eat up all that money, we can use some of that for this. We ask people if they want to self-identify as a member of, I'm seeing some stuff in that. Thanks, Stephanie. If you want to identify yourself as a member of an underrepresented community, you have the opportunity to do that. Tell us which underrepresented community if you choose to. Again, those are optional. Next. So here's some of the demographics. 100% said they could not participate without financial support. 50% considered themselves to be members of an underrepresented community within Space Physics and Astronomy, which might be different from section to section. 30% either attended or teach at a minority serving institution. 40% of people were first-time AGU attendees. 60% were students or early career scientists. Obviously, this doesn't add up because many people were both, more 2 or more categories in this. Next. So here's our form. As you can see, it looks very much like the Biogeosciences form. Certification of need. How are you going to participate? Undergrad, graduate, early career, first time, so on and so forth. Next. And if you decide to do a registration waiver, this we found was kind of important. We asked people what country they're living and working in. This is so that we can tell people you don't need a registration waiver. Registration is already free. Particularly a lot of first-time attendees don't know this. We actually go in and list each year what those countries are. This is just the low income. There's also a lower middle income. AGU makes a link that goes to the World Bank that we found can be a little hard for people to navigate. So having this list, then we can go in and say, you know, hey, you're from Ethiopia. You don't need section funds. Just make sure you click the right button on when you do go to register. Caregiver form is very similar. Google Forms, it's easy to access. We advertise it only in our section newsletter. There's the SPA section newsletter, and then NSF has a couple of programs in space physics that we advertise there as well. We don't do Twitter, so we didn't get the 20,000 person response. The Google Forms, when you do respond, it collects it in a nice spreadsheet, so that makes it pretty easy to digest and manipulate. This is our 4th year running these programs in this way. There were caregiver grants earlier. They were called dependent care grants previously, or dependent care awards. But we've really been doing 4 years where we're trying to direct it towards these sorts of goals. So I will quit there. My email is down at the bottom. If you have any questions, you can email me or put it in the chat.
Thanks, Jeff. So do folks have questions for Jeff or Stephanie? And also be curious if those of you who didn't present, and maybe you all have caregiver awards that you want to share what you've done, or just some questions if you're thinking about it. So go ahead and raise your hand or put something in the chat or just yell out. I don't see anything in the chat. Looking for hands raised.
I have a comment if I can.
Yes,
chime in.
please.
And so I'm the tectonophysics division, and we did it for the first time this year, and it's certainly a learning experience. I think we got the Google form and information from biogeochemistry and a couple of other sections as well. And I guess I was just wondering whether there were any thoughts or efforts to centralize the caregiver awards, because it did feel a little bit like reinventing the wheel, and the lessons we've learned are ones that I think others have experienced, and we tried to kind of hear from them, and but it still felt like we were sort of reproducing. Also, like the resource, for example, is great to have that resource sheet. We did something sort of similar. So I was just wondering whether then thoughts whether centralizing something like this with still potentially different, amounts that go towards it for each section is something that is considered.
And if you're asking centralized through AGU, I mean, we haven't done that. I think this call here and some of the conversations prior to this has been a little bit of a learning and fact finding, since it really had originated with the section-led effort. That isn't to say we wouldn't consider that, but what do others think in terms of kind of sharing resources and what Jacqueline is talking about?
Yeah, and just to clarify, I did meant centralized within AGU.
Yeah,
but we have like a platform where that information can be shared rather than finding email around that. Even that would be useful.
Yeah.
So one thing to think about though is maybe not every section wants to use their funds for caregiver grants, and so if it's centralized and people apply, but then there are no grants within that section to give out, that might create a bad optics. And I'll say also that so far we have just eaten the cost and fund everyone that applies. We have not down selected anyone. If we had twice as many people applying, we definitely couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. Stephanie, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's definitely a need AGU wide, I think, for caregiver grants. And I think that's represented in the fact that we both have given out a good amount of these grants, and to a good amount of people, I mean. I'm just curious if we centralized it, what that would mean for the amount that we could give out, whether we can give out more grants by doing them by section, or if centralizing it will somehow make that more difficult. So I'm curious, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have an answer necessarily, but I think that's a good piece to consider, right? If we do try and centralize somehow, if it's more formal, or if in the beginning it's more kind of here's some resources, right? That because it sounds like you all have already started sharing information among each other, templates and such.
Rosa, just to add on to that, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
from our development office, but I've worked in our travel grants long enough that I feel like I can speak semi-educatedly here. I don't believe we have an existing development fund outside of the section-specific funds that could be repurposed for
Okay.
this. Like the student travel grant fund and the Austin Student Travel Grant Challenge couldn't be, because they are very specific in that they are used only for students to attend either fall meeting or AGU meetings, right? And this goes beyond just students. But it'd be a good question to pose to Tracy. And you know, if the move for centralization is really there and the need for more funds is really there, maybe there's another development conversation that needs to happen there too around fundraising for a new fund. And I hope Tracy isn't on and like glaring at me in the virtual space, but yeah.
Thank you, Eric, for adding that. Well, we can certainly look into it and come back to the two of you and maybe others who are doing this and get some more insight. But I'm glad we were able to share here. Before we go to the next topic, oh, Lisa, go ahead.
Oh, hi, yeah. I was just going to, I have to dash actually, but I'm just going to make a quick point. Although I take on board the fact that different sections may want to do different things, it really does feel that it's not, it just feels wrong that your ability to apply for a caregiver award depends on which section you might be affiliated to. So that's my kind of overall impression, sort of stepping back and looking at it. And I think that's part of the reason why, you know, in Tectonophysics, we had a bit of discussion about this, and then partly it's about the time that we're all separately doing the same process, which takes time, but it is also about that kind of general
The fairness.
Yeah,
the fairness of it.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. All right, well, we'll talk more here about that. I don't think we have anyone in development on the line, but I think this crosses across a few parts of AGU. But I'm hoping that the folks who are doing this now can continue to share across sections. Again, that's one of the purposes of this space and this meeting, is to make folks aware of what others of you are doing and learn from each other. So appreciate that, and we will follow up. Why don't we go to the next topic? So we're going to talk about mentoring programs. You all may remember, those of you who were on the call or listened to the call last month, that we did like a very quick kind of show of hands. How many of you as sections have some sort of mentoring or coaching type of function or organizing or discussion, and got a little bit of feedback from you. We brought Pranoti here to talk a little bit more about that and see how we can get more info and share more with you. So Pranoti, I'll turn it over to you and team.
All right, thanks, Rosa. Appreciate it. It's lovely to be in this space with you all. It's so amazing to hear about the phenomenal support that you're giving our students and early career professionals. I mean, it just reminded me of when I was a student. We didn't have these kinds of grants to support a student, so this is really phenomenal. So let me just sort of direct you to sort of the mentoring program. So I'm here with the rest of my team, and we'll be happy to answer any questions for you. But if you just go to the next slide, want to quickly talk about what we discussed last time. So last time we sort of did a quick poll on, and again, of course, depending on who was in the room, you either raise your hand or you put something in the chat. We identified that there were at least 3 sections that had their own sort of mentoring programs. And just based on the chat or whatever was said in the meeting, the goal of your mentoring program was to absolutely to support students and those early career professionals. And so, how wonderful that you're all doing that. Now, here, the last point here on this slide is an assumption on our part, is that maybe you're most likely spending some sort of time sort of manually matching your mentors and your mentees. Again, this is sort of an assumption on our part. And we have a virtual mentoring program, which I know many of you have heard about, and we regularly get inquiries about folks who want to join this program simply because they have their own mentoring programs, and then the work and the labor associated with the manual matching has gotten so hard because of the need for their program. They want to be part of the virtual program, which can sort of automatically do this for you. So before I kind of go into sort of what it is, how we'd love to support you, I just want to give you a very high level overview of our virtual mentoring program. So again, Mentoring 365 is the name of the program, and it has it's virtually, it's year round. Hence the name Mentoring 365. It connects students and professionals in our space to facilitate career conversations, skills development, and any kind of networking that is needed to advance their science and further their careers. So if you could go to the next slide. There are 2 specific programs I want to talk to you about. One is the one-on-one mentoring that happens in this platform. This can be sort of 2 types. It could be just a one-time meeting. Say a student or early career professional is very interested in getting help on their resume or on their CV, right? So that's called sort of flash mentoring or one-time mentoring. Alternatively, you could have a mentoring relationship that extends beyond the one time. It could be 3 months, it could be longer, it could be shorter. Say, for instance, that early career professional wants some help on a publication, or a student undergrad is looking to go to graduate school and they need help and guidance, on how to select an advisor, or how to select a research area, or whatever the case might be. So those examples are within sort of the one-on-one mentoring. If you could go to the next slide, please. We have another instance in the mentoring platform, which is called Mentoring Circle. So folks who have a common interest meet for a set amount of time, and that could be a month, it could be longer. It all depends on what the interest level is. This can happen sort of in 1-2 ways. There are circles that are sort of topic-based that are public. That means anybody who is interested in joining can join the circle and be part of this conversation for a set amount of time. So most recently, we finished a circle on careers outside academia. We have a new circle that is starting later this month on open science, sort of an introduction to open science. So these are public circles. That means we advertise them in AGU Weekly. We put messages in the career newsletter and so on and so forth. Another type of circle is a private circle. That means this is a set group of folks who want to have conversations and have sort of goals to sort of further something along, for a set amount of time. So a good example of this, one of the private circles, is actually a circle that was asked for by the early career representatives from your sections and from the council. So the student and early career council leaders, as well as the section reps, came to us asking for a sort of a private circle. They already participated in the one-on-one mentoring in the past, and they recognized that this platform would help them. So starting in earlier this year, in January, we have about 60 members from your sections and from the council who I have been meeting sort of regularly and posting, and having conversations since in January. They have had one meeting. They are very active, and they've sort of planned a town hall. They're working on getting feedback and support, for other events that they may be doing within their sections, and so on and so forth. So if we go to the next slide, having given you sort of this context, we are very eager to help you. if you have a mentoring program that is, sort of demanding a lot of sort of time on your part, how can we help you? Would you love for us to sort of set up a office hour, a question and answer session with you? If you're interested in using the platform, for the sake of efficiency or for just managing the demand of your program. Would you be interested in maybe, responding to a short survey to tell us a little bit about your program? Maybe you weren't at the last month's meeting. We're happy to send out a form to everybody, through the section leadership community to gather information about what kinds of programs may be happening in various sections. And more importantly, if you're interested in accessing resources of mentoring, we're happy to help with that, and also other ideas. So let me stop right there and see if there are any questions or anybody has any comments. And then I just have a couple more slides to share after that.
Any questions? I don't think I see anything in the chat, Pranoti.
Okay. Sorry. So if we could just go to the next slide. Just for awareness, we have a program that is currently open, and this may be of interest to your section, especially for postdocs and early career professionals. This is called the AGU College of Fellows Mentoring. The application opened earlier this month. It's still open until the end of the month and into early November. We have a lot of folks who've already signed up, but it's open if you want to share this. I know Liz Gilden from my team is here, and I know she's working with Josh to get some of these messages into the various newsletters. So thank you, Liz, for posting it in the chat. Just so you know, this program began in 2018. And over 300 mentees have participated in this, and over 100 mentors, from the College of Fellows have participated in this program. So right now we're accepting applications for the 2024 cohort. So if this is of interest, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to give you a blurb for your newsletter, unless you already have this. And if you could go to one more slide for me. Again, Eric mentioned this. We do have Mentoring 365 Live. So this is very much like the one-on-one meeting that you could have with a potential mentor, but this is in person at the AGU 23 meeting. So again, this is open right now, and we're accepting applications for this. We will use this again for the Ocean Science meeting, and then for the AGU meeting in 24, and so on and so forth. So we invite you to share this information with your sections, and we would love to engage with you and see how we can support you with your own mentoring programs in your section. And the last slide just has our names and email addresses if that's of interest. And we'll also post those in the chat. So I'll stop right there and take any questions or not.
Thanks, Pranoti. Any questions or comments? I see Liz has dropped a few resources in the chat. So take a look at that, you guys, or everyone. I don't see any hands raised. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left. So open mic. So any further questions on the topics today, or anything else you want to bring up? I don't see any raised hands. I think everything in the chat's gotten answered. But yell if you didn't get an answer. Tanya.
Hi, I apologize because I've missed a bunch of these meetings, so this question may have been answered 1,000 times over. There was talk at one point about having a poster session in January, and I wondered whether that had all been resolved and I missed it and I can stop thinking about it.
Suzanne, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, and I'll also let Nicole, who's on our team, there is going to be a poster session in January. I think it's at the end of January. Nicole, are you still on? May not be.
I don't think she is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it is on, I think the slides that we provided, it's kind of like a timeline of for those January workshops, as well as poster sessions that are going to take place.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Lauren, do you have any more information on those?
Oh, there's Lauren. Hi.
Sorry, I'll just add, and we'll send out, how about we send out a schedule to everyone after this as well. There are about 150 poster sessions that are actually going to run during that time. And it really is fantastic to allow our folks who are attending virtually that are assigned to a poster to be able to present at a time where everyone can go, hopefully. I mean, time challenges aside with time zones, we wanted to kind of create a space where people could really focus on that rather than you're caught in a hallway conversation. I'm standing there talking to Tanya. I see her. We meant to go and make it to this poster session, but then we're, late to our virtual folks. So we really wanted to kind of bring that time out. And again, it's a pilot. So we're going to see how this goes and get some feedback both from in-person and our virtual presenters. And then we'll use that learning to develop new opportunities for how we design for our virtual audience. So happy to send you guys a little more information and really appreciate the question.
Thanks, Lauren and Suzanne. Kathleen, you got your hand up.
Yeah, and similar apologies if this has already been asked before, but I wanted to raise an issue around the section receptions and all the tickets being sold out already for most of them, including ours, because this was brought to my attention by our early career chair, who was planning to do a lot of kind of outreach and activities at that event with our early career group members, but she wasn't even able to get a ticket and many others weren't. And some of our executive community haven't been able to get tickets. So I understand the reasoning and I appreciate the decision to go with the free tickets, but I feel like I'm worried what's happened is a lot of people just got tickets and then aren't actually going to show up. So one question is whether there's going to be a way for additional people to go in depending on capacity.
We do apply attrition kind of mindset, understanding that some folks will take a ticket and not show. Suzanne, do you want to go through? Because I think we're adding tickets.
Yeah, so we've actually been adding tickets as we've seen inventory is sold out. And so we've been working with our Merits partner and also Rose's team to see where we can add. So I know Josh and Greg, they are watching those events every day and just checking. So what I would do is I would work with them to say, hey, we need, more tickets, or we have, a group that, we want to come to the event. How can we get them tickets? So we'll work with you on that. So please do not, have any concerns. The only ones that I would be cautious are the ones that are lunch plated meals and they have a particular budget, but the evening receptions, do not worry. We'll work with you guys on that.
That's a huge relief. Thank you so much. I will get in touch with Josh and Greg.
Yeah, and keep us all apprised, the section support team, in terms of what you're hearing out there. And like Suzanne said, our respective teams have eyes on it all the time because we know that where this is headed, the unintended consequences of changing course. So we'll see what we learn, right, Lauren?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kathleen. All right, so we are at the top of the hour. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Also, I saw your note, John. Yeah, I think we need to kind of, we have a section support area on Connect. I think we need to kind of go back and look at the resources that are there and what we're sharing and see how we can kind of share out information better. So we have our last section leader meeting next month. We don't do one in December because we'll all be busy. But please, as usual, get in touch with me to let me know what you'd like to see on the agenda for November. And of course, Suzanne will be with us again to talk about AGU 23. So we appreciate all you do as volunteers, and we want to make this a space for you to continue to talk to each other. So let us know. I also just got a direct message here as I'm talking to you about next year's section leader meetings. We're going to look at how those are structured and figure out some dates so we can let people know. So we'll certainly share that with you, and hopefully you found these meetings to be helpful. So with that, I'm going to let everybody go to our next meetings. Take care, everybody. Bye.